Let's be honest, the birth of a global religion isn't your average Tuesday. It usually starts with something extraordinary, maybe even divine. In the case of Catholicism, it all began with a carpenter from Nazareth named Jesus. You might know him. He's kind of a big deal. Jesus wasn't building furniture, though. He was building a movement. His message was simple: love, compassion, and a radical new way of connecting with God. People were drawn to his teachings like moths to a flame. It was new, exciting, and a little bit dangerous. The Roman Empire, not exactly known for its tolerance of new ideas, wasn't thrilled. But Jesus' message resonated with the people. He spoke of a God who loved them unconditionally, a far cry from the distant, often wrathful deities of the time. This message, coupled with Jesus' charisma and ability to perform miracles according to his followers, made him a powerful figure. He was a threat to the established order, and the authorities took notice. Little did they know this carpenter's son from Nazareth would spark a revolution that would change the world forever. And from these humble beginnings, the Catholic Church, one of the most influential institutions in history, would emerge. Now, Jesus' birth story is a bit of a head-scratcher. Born in a stable, angels singing to shepherds. It's the kind of story that makes you go, that's a bit much even for a Tuesday. But let's go with it. After all, it makes for a good story. Jesus grew up in Nazareth, a small, unremarkable town in Galilee. He probably learned carpentry from his father, Joseph. Life was simple, but it wasn't long before Jesus felt a higher calling. At around 30 years old, he began his public ministry. He traveled throughout Galilee and Judea, preaching his message of love, forgiveness, and the coming kingdom of God. He challenged the religious authorities of his day, often engaging in heated debates about the true meaning of faith. He healed the sick, fed the hungry, and comforted the afflicted. Jesus' teachings were radical for their time. He emphasized love over law, compassion over judgment, and forgiveness over retribution. He taught his followers to care for the poor and marginalized, and to challenge injustice wherever they saw it. His message was one of hope, love, and the possibility of a better world. Remember how we said the Roman Empire wasn't exactly thrilled with Jesus' growing popularity? Well, things came to a head when Jesus was arrested and crucified under the Roman governor Pontius Pilate. It wasn't pretty. Crucifixion was a brutal public execution reserved for the worst offenders. Jesus' followers were devastated. Their leader, their Messiah, was dead. Their hopes for a new world seemed to die with him. They went into hiding, fearing for their own lives. The movement Jesus had started seemed destined to fade away. But then something remarkable happened, something that would change the course of history. According to Christian tradition, 3 days after his death, Jesus rose from the dead. He appeared to his followers, proving that death had no power over him. This event, the resurrection, is the cornerstone of Christian faith. The resurrection transformed the disciples' despair into unshakable faith. They believed that Jesus was not just a man, but the Son of God who had conquered death itself. Empowered by this belief, they set out to spread Jesus' teachings to the world. Enter Paul, originally known as Saul of Tarsus. He was a devout Jew who initially persecuted early Christians. Talk about a career change, but then he had a life-altering experience. He claimed to have encountered the risen Christ in a vision. This encounter transformed Paul from a persecutor of Christians into their most passionate advocate. Paul was a tireless traveler and a gifted communicator. He journeyed throughout the Roman Empire, establishing Christian communities and spreading the message of Jesus to both Jews and Gentiles, non-Jews. He wrote letters to these communities, which became part of the New Testament, providing guidance and theological insights. Paul's message was revolutionary. He emphasized that salvation was available to all, regardless of their ethnicity or social status. This message resonated with people across the Roman world who were drawn to the inclusivity and hope offered by Christianity. Now, imagine being part of a new religious movement in the Roman Empire, not exactly a walk in the park. Early Christians faced suspicion, hostility, and often outright persecution. They were accused of atheism because they didn't worship the Roman gods, cannibalism due to misinterpretations of the Eucharist, and sedition because they refused to acknowledge the emperor as divine. Imagine being thrown to the lions in the Colosseum or burned at the stake, all for your religious beliefs. That was the reality for many early Christians. But this persecution, while horrific, had an unexpected effect. It strengthened the resolve of the Christians. It proved their commitment to their faith, and it made them martyrs, inspiring others to join their ranks. They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And in the case of early Christianity, persecution, while tragic, only seemed to fuel its growth. It was a testament to the power of faith in the face of adversity. Fast forward a couple of centuries and Christianity was still going strong despite the best efforts of the Roman authorities to stamp it out. Enter Constantine, the Roman emperor. In 312 CE, on the eve of a crucial battle, he reportedly had a vision of a cross in the sky with the words, "In this sign you will conquer." He took it as a sign from the Christian God and converted to Christianity. Talk about divine intervention. Constantine's conversion was a turning point in Christian history. He issued the Edict of Milan in 313 CE, granting religious tolerance throughout the Roman Empire. Christianity was no longer a persecuted sect. It was a legally recognized religion. This was a game changer. Constantine's support helped to elevate Christianity from a marginalized faith to a major force in the Roman world. He funded the construction of churches, granted privileges to the clergy, and even convened the First Ecumenical Council, the Council of Nicaea, in 325 CE, where it all came together, sort of. Imagine a room full of bishops from all over the Roman Empire arguing about the nature of Jesus. That was the Council of Nicaea. It was a theological free-for-all. Constantine, in his infinite wisdom, or perhaps just wanting everyone to get along, decided it was time to settle some key Christian doctrines. The main issue was Jesus divine? Was he equal to God the Father? Or was he created by God, as some believed? After much debate and probably a few too many cups of Roman wine, the bishops eventually hammered out the Nicene Creed, a statement of faith that affirmed Jesus' divinity and his equality with God the Father. It was a defining moment for Christianity, establishing a common set of beliefs for the Church. Of course, not everyone agreed with the Nicene Creed. There were still theological disputes and divisions within the Church, but Nicaea marked a significant step toward the consolidation of Christian doctrine and the emergence of a unified Church. With Constantine's support and the doctrinal foundation laid at Nicaea, Christianity flourished. It spread rapidly throughout the Roman Empire and beyond. Churches were built, monasteries were founded, and Christianity became deeply intertwined with Roman society and culture. As the Roman Empire declined, the Church stepped in to fill the void. It provided social services, preserved learning, and offered a sense of stability in a time of turmoil. The Bishop of Rome, who claimed to be the successor of Peter the Apostle, gradually emerged as the leader of the Western Church. This marked the rise of the papacy and the development of the Catholic Church as a distinct and powerful institution. The Catholic Church played a pivotal role in shaping Western civilization. It influenced art, architecture, music, literature, philosophy, and law. It established universities, hospitals, and charitable organizations. It was a major patron of the arts and a center of learning during the Middle Ages. From its humble beginnings in the backwater of the Roman Empire, Catholicism had become a global faith, shaping the course of history for centuries to come. It wasn't always pretty. There were periods of corruption, crusades, inquisitions, and other dark chapters. But there were also periods of great intellectual and artistic flourishing, social reform, and spiritual renewal. Today, Catholicism is the largest Christian denomination in the world, with over 1.3 billion members. It continues to be a major force in global affairs, advocating for peace, justice, and human dignity. Its impact on art, culture, and history is undeniable. Love it or hate it, there's no denying the profound influence Catholicism has had on the world. It's a testament to the enduring power of faith, the resilience of the human spirit, and the carpenter from Nazareth who started it all. Today, the Catholic Church faces new challenges and opportunities in a rapidly changing world. Secularization, globalization, and the rise of new religious movements are all shaping the landscape of faith in the 21st century. The Church is grappling with issues such as the role of women, LGBTQ+ inclusion, clerical sexual abuse, and the growing gap between rich and poor. But amidst these challenges, there are also signs of hope. Pope Francis, with his emphasis on social justice, interfaith dialogue, and environmental stewardship, has brought a renewed sense of purpose and relevance to the Church. Catholics around the world are working to address the pressing issues of our time, inspired by the gospel message of love, compassion, and service to others. The story of Catholicism is still being written. Its future will depend on its ability to adapt to a changing world while remaining true to its core values. It will require listening to the voices of all its members, engaging in honest dialogue, and embracing a spirit of humility and compassion. One thing is certain, the journey of faith continues. If this dive into history piqued your interest, hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell for more fascinating stories from the past. Because unlike ancient Roman emperors, we won't make you wait years to hear the next one.